All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes
Yes
po,
All
po,
ma'am.
ma'am.
right. So again, good morning po. Kindly turn on your camera. So our usual um rules in having an online class, everyone should turn on their cameras, please, so we can see each other even if we are online. Also, thank you very much, everyone, for attending our class at 8 a.m. So again, reminding everyone to please wear decent clothes. You need to wear a t-shirt. You need to sit up straight. Do not lay down. No sa liko po kita, dapat po naka-t-shirt po kita because we are attending an online class. This is still a class, it's just online. So again, good morning, everyone. So today we will be discussing the other steps, the remaining steps of the cost-benefit analysis. So I hope you can still remember our last meeting. So last meeting, we actually discussed step four. I hope you can remember step four, monetize the impacts. Also, did you upload your assignments? So as early as now, I would like to the way I look at on my diary. I actually have a diary for the class. We will be able to finish discussing step five to step eight today, and it would also mean that this will be our last lecture for the subject. And if this is the last lecture, it would also mean that we will not be considering. I hope I can pull out. Um, I think we still have last chapter, but because of we still have a last chapter which is on um climate change economics and risk assessment tools, but because of the time that we are having and because of the a lot of suspensions that happened, we will not be able to cover that. So this is actually advantageous on your end because exams will circulate on the cost benefit analysis. So final exam will circulate only on the cost benefit analysis. So we won't when I look at on our schedule, we won't be if we will push through with the climate change what's that? Climate change economics and risk assessment tools. It would actually entail us 2 weeks to discuss it. So we will be a bit behind. So let's just focus on the cost benefit analysis for the final exam. And the way I see it, we will be able to discuss step five to step eight today. So time check, it's 8:10. So I think um, your classmates will not be joining us. And usually as well with the environmental economics, usually it's only roughly 15 or 16 people joining. So anyway, today we'll be discussing each one we will be discussing step five, discount to find the present value of cost and benefits. So if you were not able to have your group assignment, um, I hope you will catch up because this is the time where you will be, if you were able to do your assignment, it would be easy for you to understand our discussion this morning. Because basically, the cost benefit ratio, the calculation of it, is actually very easy. It's just arithmetic, it's a divide. You're going to divide it, you're going to multiply it. It's just as easy as that. So again, if you didn't involve yourself with the group, with your assignment, kindly catch up because it would be very much easier for you to understand if you work on with your assignment. So we'll be discussing step five, discount to find the present value of cost and benefits. So let's go first with the introductory. So again, the cost benefit analysis is a set of practical procedures for guiding public expenditure decisions. So we actually use this tool on deciding if the project is feasible or not. So um, there are two major steps to follow in the estimation of environmental cost and benefits. So we already discussed the first 4 steps until the monetization. Today we'll be discussing the value of cost and benefits. So the good thing with benefit cost analysis is we can make making time adjustments. So just like in your assignment, we can actually indicate as to what is the lifespan of the project. At the same time, we can also calculate a specific discount for a specific number of years. So that is why making time adjustments, which is again just like what we have learned in many of our classes, through time the ecosystem state changes. It could be worsen off or it could be better off. So that's why again, um, one of the major steps in benefit cost analysis. There are 2 major steps to follow in the estimation of environmental benefits and costs. First is making time adjustments. If you yourself involved with the assignment, we can actually look at on the formula that we can actually put a discount rate on each specific year. Um, were you able to come upon the formula of doing in calculating the benefit cost ratio? Anyone with your assignment? Waray? Waray yung may nag-assignment ng EU benefit cost analysis? An EU article? Waray may naka-rememberhan article? Do you remember we have an assignment for a specific example of an article for CBA? Anyone? Waray hayo? May nakahinumdum ani yung assignment han CBA? So, ini na nag-submit ang grupo nila lumagbas, nila ispantangan takuge, ano man ini. Hello? Ano ini? So, diri ko ini ka-count na yung assignment. Nabati po ka mga akon or diri?
Nagbati po, ma'am.
So ano nga yung assignment, diri ko lang ini ka-count. Kay ginhimuan la ada ninyo pero wala niyo intindiha. Tama ba?
Ma'am, ano pa ton question, ma'am?
Ang akong question is, did you encounter the cost benefit ratio formula, how to calculate benefit cost analysis?
Ma'am, nanakon lang nakito na amon article, ma'am, ang result la mismo, ma'am, which is ginkuan nera, ma'am, and kuan, ma'am, and like for example, ang amon article, ma'am, and cost ng bawat ano to, ang cost naging gastos, ma'am, kuan ginre-ratio ya based on ano to, based on benefit, ma'am, like for example 1:23,000 buhat sugad puad to. Depende po ang gastos ngadto ang ratio and benefit po. O gin ratio po ang gastos po ngadto ang benefit po, ma'am.
Okay. But wala ka mo may gin-submit, Mr. Babagay?
Wari pa po ako nag-submit, ma'am, kay ang laptop po kasi gindara marabot.
Okay, sige po. How about the other group po? Ano waray lugod nag-submit naka-remember? Ang mga nag-submit, waray lugod maka-remember. Sige. Anyway, the professor can only tell you much, but it's actually on the end of the student if you would like to learn from it or not, from your assignments. So, pareho la ba ito kuwan? Pareho la ba ito bata? Papakaunan mo nga ni, tas diri, lalatuson mo. Pero di ko man ka mo pwede latuson. Diri ko ka mo lalatuson pa, balbagon good. But diri man ito pwede, so it's up to you if you're really going to understand the assignment or not. But anyway, let's continue. So in the time adjustments, the purpose of this time adjustments is for us not to accrue to society at the same time the benefits and the costs. So the benefits and the costs actually sometimes occur in the future. That is why when we put money on the bank, there is an interest that we can gain, like a peso or 100 peso, depends on the money that we have on on the bank. Because again, those interest is actually considered as your benefit in the future. At the same time, that's also the reason why that when you put money on the bank, it would take time to gain interest. Because then again, um, of course you cannot just give the money and get something from it without putting the time without putting the time element on for your money to gain interest. So there are two types of adjustments that we can work on when it comes to time adjustments. This is the present value determination, accounts for the opportunity cost of the money, where we determine what is its present value, and of course the inflation correction, accounts for changes in the general price level. It's also one of the reasons why in the types of adjustments, inflation correction, one of the reasons why for example, our salary increases through time because of the inflation correction. It means that your 1 million today is not the same as, it will not be 1 million after 10 years because of inflation. So those are the two types of adjustments. So now let us do the step 6, calculate net present value. So the net present value or present value determination discounts for a future value, which is designated as FB, into its present value, which is designated as PV, by accounting for opportunity cost of money, its highest valued alternative use, which is the rate of return on investment. So if it actually explains why money loan in the present must be paid back in the future with interest. Because then again, if you're going to borrow 1 million and then you're gonna pay the 1 million after 10 years, the that is not the same value of a million after 10 years, because then again of the um of the inflation factor. So further, it explains why present value of monies received in the future is discounted. So that's also why the reason why when you loan something, there is an interest, because again, your money in the future is already discounted. Nadi-discounted na ito ano yung money. So general formula for present value is PV, which is the future value, and on times 1 over 1 plus R means the discount factor times the time. So if we're going to extrapolate that, the 1 over 1 plus R raised to the power of time is actually the discount factor, and T is the number of time periods. So this is so PV determination is the means by which future environmental benefits and costs are adjusted. Please know as well that R, considering that it is the discount rate, it's also called a social discount rate in public policy. That is why later we will be discussing how can we differentiate the private project and the government project, because they are not treated the same way, because there is a difference when it comes to cost benefit analysis if it's a private project and if it's a government project. So for the present Philippine money, for example, Philippine peso into the future, for example, suppose you invest 100 pesos today in the bank. So at the end of the year, it is worth 1 plus 0.05 times 100, given that the interest rate is 5%. So at the end of the year, for example, this is the present value into the future of your money. So at the end of the year, your 100 will be worth 105. So at the end of the year two, it is worth 1 plus 0.5, 5% interest times 105, because then again, your 100 already increased 5 pesos. So at the end of year 2, it will be 110.25. So the interest compound over time, that is the interest also earning interest. So that's the present value of your money in the bank. So if we are going to define the so if we're going to calculate the future value of the investment, for example, the earlier one, if we're going to know what is the future value of your 100 pesos after a year, or what is the value of your 100 pesos after 2 years, we calculate the future value. So when you say future value, FV is equal to R. R means the initial investment amount, times 1 plus R. R is the rate of return, the small r, and T is for the years of investment. So suppose someone promises you to pay 100 peso 1 year from now. So what is the maximum amount you should be willing to pay today for such promise? And if you are foregoing the interest that you could earn on the money that is being loaned. So if we're going to calculate the future value of your, give me a second. Okay, sige. So if we're going to calculate the future value, sige, let's try to solve this first. May dakada na delete na ako. PowerPoint. So let's try to solve this first, the FB, the future value. If we're gonna go back, this one is the present value. Ay, nabad to. Sorry. Give me a second. The 100 peso. Okay. This is the present value of your 100 pesos. Present value. I hope you can take down notes because so will not be confusing on your end. So this is the present value of your money. So for example, you have 1 pesos in your bank, we calculate the interest rate. Given that the interest rate is 5%. So 100 pesos times 1 plus 0.5, 0.5 means the interest rate. So that would be 105. So it means that your interest of your 100 peso after a year in the bank is 105. And if you have 105 and it's still on the bank and the interest rate is the same, 5%, so 105 times 1 plus 0.5, which is the interest rate, it means that on year 2, you will have 110.25. That is your present value of your money. On this case, for example, is the future value. On this case naman is when you loan someone 100 pesos. So after a year, how much should that person be paying you? Because we are trying to calculate the future value of your money. Can anyone calculate? So the formula is future value is equal to the R initial investment amount, the big R, is equal to R times FB is equal to R times 1 plus R. The small r means the rate of return of investment. T is equal to the number of years. Can anyone solve if our discount rate is 0.5 or 5% is the discount rate after 1 year? So if you loan your classmate 100 pesos and you want to know what is the future value of your 100 pesos after a year, then kindly solve the future value. So how much is it, man? Kumakalculate liwat ako. So what is the answer po? What's the answer po? Anyone? Mr. Tan? Are you solving, Mr. Tan? Mr. Moralde?
Yes.
Pera
Sige
po,
po.
years, ma'am.
One year, only one. Can anyone answer? Are you solving, Mr. Reda? Simple ito nakuha na yan. Para sure na.
Ang rate po, ma'am, pera.
5%.
$105 po, ma'am.
Okay, 105. So it means that your 100 after a year with a discount rate of 5% is 105 pesos. So if somebody asks money from you, and imo gid pahuram haiya na 100 today after a year, that is worth 105 pesos. Given that the discount rate is 5%. Nakuha naton? When you say future value, actually, it's the same concept with the present value. If you're going to look back on the formula, it's the same formula with the present value. Um, well, of course, it depends on who you are going to loan your money because they have different discount rate. So So what is suppose someone promises to pay you 100 pesos 1 year from now? What is the maximum amount you should be willing to pay today for such a promise? So if after a year someone promises yan na ginbaliktad natin. After a year, someone is promising you to pay 100 pesos after a year. So what is the maximum amount you should be willing to pay today for such promise? So kung after a year, babaydan ko ikon 100. So today, pira man dapat anak kung la ipahuram mo para mag-equal yan 100 after a year.
95, ma'am.
95? Sige, let's try to solve 95. Kung after a year, kung ba talaga hiya? 100 ba talaga hiya? So 95 plus 1.05 equals times 1. Ano man ang answer? Hello? Hello? Mr. Moralde said 99.75. Anyone?
99 liwatan na akon, ma'am.
Sige, 99 times 1.05. Wrong. Balik po, din baliktad leta na aton. So, kung after a year, babaydan kita ng 100, pero dapat na naton ipapahuram haiya today. Given that, after a year and the same discount rate. Ano naman ito natin? So, bali, babaliktaran lang niyo ang formula. How much man po? Uy, hello. Kumusta na? Answer is 95.23. Ginano ko man, gin-transpose lahat to mga sir. So, di ba, our formula is FV is equal to R times 1 plus R raised to the power of time. So, ito nga na-transpose. So, inihiya nga na-transpose, kay times man hiya, i-divide ninyo. So, 100, kaya di ba, may damo man FV value. Ano na ba ito di yung math? Nawara na ka mo di yung math. So, di ba, may ka mo FV. Kaya nato ni papakiana is after a year, that babaydan kan 100, pero dapat imo ipapanguram iya today. So, an imo FV, you have the FB already, which is 100. So, an imo missing is actually the initial investment. So, ano naman ito? I-divide mo, di ba? 100 divided by 1.05, kay 5% man. Then, E is 1. So 100 divided by 1.05, answer is 95.23. To check that, 95.23 times 1.05, given the discount rate of 5%, so it's 99.9915. So relatively 100 pesos. Nakuha natin. Ay, kamukalipat. Nakuha po natin. Ginbabaliktad la ito. This time, ang problem is, ang iya ipapahuram is, kuan. Pwede, di ba na next? Ang iya ipapahuram is 100. Ang iya ibabayad, ano mo papahod mo is 100 1 year from now. So today, pero kung ano mo ipapahuram. What is the maximum amount you should be willing to pay today for such a promise? So if you're going to forego the interest that you could earn on the money that is being loaned. So for you to earn the 5% interest rate, you should let that person borrow 95.23. After a year, with the 5% 5% interest, you will have 100. Nakuha po natin. Nakuha po natin, mga sir and ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Sige po. Okay. So, the present value of a future amount of money is the maximum amount you would be willing to pay today for the right to receive the money in the future. So that is why if we are going to calculate the present value, it's R over 1 plus R raised to the power of time. This is actually the same formula earlier. It's just that nibutang haubos ang iya 1 plus R raised to the power of time. So in previous equation, R is often referred to as the discount rate, which is the 1 plus R raised to the power of T is the discount factor. So finally, consider a promise to pay. So finally, consider a promise to pay a stream of money, which is the present, which is the initial investment today, to initial investment after year 1 from now and so on for the time of years. So that is why if we are going to calculate the question earlier, ang ato na hihimuon is divide. So initial investment over the discount rate plus the discount rate plus raised to the power the time that we would like to calculate the discount factor. So present value is enormously important concept. So for example, your 1 million, is it 1 million? Yeah. Your 1 million payment 20 years from now is actually only worth today for a discount rate of 5%. It's only 376,889 if the discount rate is 5%. If the discount rate of your 1 million 20 years from now, that's only 148,644. So that's the concept that we need to understand in the benefit cost analysis or in the present value, future value calculation, that again, our money today will not be the same money after a few years, or after a year, after a second year, after 10 years or 20 years. It's actually because of the discount factor. So again, just like what I discussed earlier, because of inflation correction and of course making adjustments. So nominal amounts are valued according to the level of prices in the year the return occurs, because there are cases where it is expected that after a year investment will gain 5%, or after 2 years your investment will gain 4.5%. So, and at the same time, real amounts are valued according to the level of prices in one particular year, because there are cases where interest is higher on that particular year. There are also cases that interest rate are lower on that specific year. At the same time, it also depends upon the economy. When you say depends upon the economy, there are cases that the economy is going well. So it means that um, inflation would be less. But if the economy is not doing well, then definitely inflation would really affect the payout stream and the discount factor. So when you say payout stream, this is the amount of money that would be paid out to you. Well, for example, the present value and the future value and the discount factor. Because then again, discount factor, though there are discount factor that are relatively general. For example, if having a loan, a specific kind of loan, there is a specific general discount factor. But then again, it depends on the um, what kind of loan that you are going to get. So adjusting for movements is in the general price level. Usually, we convert the real value today to its future nominal value to account for expected inflation. So nominal value, in this case, nominal value is equal to the real value, but it depends on the expected inflation rate. And if we're going to convert the nominal value to the real value, it actually depends on the inflation rate as well. So if we're going to convert the nominal to its real value, it's actually called as deflating. Hindi deflate natin. So the present value of benefits, or PVB, is time-adjusted magnitude of incremental benefits associated with environmental policy change. That is why we are using present value of benefits, or present value of cost, benefits and cost, in environmental economics, because we can actually calculate the benefits and the costs after environmental policy change. So PVB in real dollars has this formula, which is the summation of B, where BT represents the real benefits, times the 1 plus R, which is the discount rate, times the time. If we are going to calculate the present value of cost, basically it's the same formula, but this time we are putting into account the cost, not the benefit. So we are calculating the summation of costs, the real cost, over, or when you say over, is divided by the 1 plus the discount factor over, not over, but with uh, with an exponent of time. I think that's the correct term. So step 1 is determine if an option is feasible, and step 2 is select among the feasible options. So again, if you're going to remember in environmental economics, there are alternatives that we can have in our proposal, alternative options. Can you remember? Like for example, if there is a problem with the flood control, we have an option to have a hard structure or a soft structure. When you say hard structure, we have the infrastructure, we have the dikes, we have the levees, we have the seawall. When you say soft alternative, we can um, reinforce or reforest the mangrove forest. So between the two, we should calculate the benefit cost, and we should do the benefit cost analysis and determine which one is the most feasible and which one is the least or not feasible at all. And that is the application of the benefit cost analysis. So first off is determining the feasibility. So in using the benefit cost ratio, if the benefit present value present value of benefits over present value of cost is more than 1, then the option is feasible. Again, if it's more than 1, it means that it outweighs the benefits over the cost because it is more than 1, then it should be feasible. If we are going to use as well the present value of net benefits, when you say net benefits, this is the net, like the minus of the benefits minus the cost. Minus at the net, when you say net, where we already have the like the when you say net, it is the, paano ko ba explain? In layman's term, let me relate it into layman's term. You're familiar with salary, right? Salary, sweldo ba? So, for example, your gross, when you say gross, that's your total salary is 50,000 pesos. There is a difference when we talk about the net salary, because the net salary, it means that taxes are already counted out. Contribution to Pag-ibig, contribution to GSIS, contribution to your loan or whatever is already counted out. So the gross is your total salary and the net is your net pay, or the one that you take home. That's what we mean by net pay. So in this case, when you say net benefits, it means that the net benefits is already deducted by the cost. And if it is more than 0, then it is feasible because you already minus the cost from the benefit. So in determining the feasibility, you can use the benefit cost ratio, where you divide the benefit over the cost, and if it's more than 1, it's feasible. Or you can also calculate the present value of net benefits, where the present value of the present value of the benefits is minus the present value of the cost, and if it's more than 0, then it is feasible. I hope you're taking a screenshot of this. Yes, Mr. Lumagbas, go ahead, please.
Ma'am, about po ini nga kakalculate naton nga benefit cost. Ini po nga pag-calculate about ini nga net present value. Kuan po ini nga this is between the two comparison about an imogin sharing example. So
Which example?
And kuan po sugad kun soft is structure and hard structure. So kung magko-compute po kamon about an cost and benefit, so kung po niyo an net value an benefit, an bali po an cost po hiniunta an kanan cost han comparison nga duha. Kay sugad po amon study po nga an kanan about han street lights and solar lights ngayon ang standard street lights. So ang pagkuha po namon ini nga net value, net benefit, so gin-compared na po namon ang cost nga nagamit han usa nga standard nga street lights kaysa patihan kanan solar lights. So nga duha ging compute an era cost value, tapos bali po kun nga duha naging compute, tapos ang naging result po nga value ni ran kanan net benefits, amo po adtoan an gin interpret iton po nga more than 1, so amo po iton nga parang naging kuan niya, naging na prove nga feasible.
Okay. Yes. But you should calculate the benefit cost ratio or net benefits of the solar lights, street solar lights and the not solar lights. I think ano yung ginhimo is amo yun yan solar lights, tas gin-minus niyo handiri solar lights. Dapat separate calculation niya na amo init imo net benefits kung mag solar lights kit ka, amo init imo net benefits kung diri ka mag solar light.
So
diri mo hiya igma-minus. So dapat separate ani mo calculation ani mo solar lights, separately what ani mo calculation ani mo diri solar lights.
So pag-interpret po ini nga benefit cost ratio, magkaiba lang po in calculation.
Yes po. So yung analysis is kikitaon niyo kung hinoan mas pinaka-feasible between the two options. if you're gonna go for the solar lights, or you would go for the non-solar lights.
Okay po, ma'am. Nagets na po.
Mm-mm.
Thank you.
So, okay. So, okay. So the decision rule on the feasible options is to achieve allocative efficiency, the present value. So the present value for all P periods among all feasible alternatives. This is the one that I mentioned earlier with the question of Mr. Lumagbas. For us to achieve the allocative efficiency, we should um, look at on all the alternatives. Which one is better? So if the solar lights would have a higher net benefits, then we should go, or the study should recommend to use the solar lights. So in the decision rule, to achieve the cost effectiveness, this is also another aspect that we can work on. It's either for the allocative efficiency, which one we can maximize the present value, and for the cost effectiveness naman is which one that it would cost less among all feasible alternatives that achieve a predetermined benefit level. So you can actually suggest for example, for the policy recommendation, if the cost of having the non-solar lights is cheaper in reference to the cost effectiveness. But on the context of feasible alternatives, for example, it is way better for us to allocate our resources if we're going to go for solar lights. Then you can go for the maximized PVNB, or the um, for the present value for allocative efficiency. But either way, you can actually go for both, or you can actually go for either of the one. Allocative efficiency, where we can maximize the allocation of our resources, or cost effectiveness, which one is cheapest. And if it's cheapest, or it's cheaper than the other alternative, then go for the cost effectiveness. So that's the decision rule in benefit cost analysis. So just like I mentioned earlier, there are two types of project that we can evaluate, and we can actually treat the two of them a little different, I would say. So this time, let's go for the private sector project evaluation. So we will be discussing two, the private sector and the government project. For the private sector, suppose there are two projects, X and Y. So each entails certain benefits and costs denoted as BX, CX, BY, and CY. So we need to ask, is the project admissible, or is the project preferable? When you say admissible, it's okay, like it's feasible, like admissible, we can administer it. When you say preferable, which one is preferred by the people? So, admissible, are the benefits greater than the cost? That's the question that we need to ask. Preferable, are the net benefits the highest? So, excuse me, most projects involve a stream of benefits and cost over time. So that's why we can actually calculate for the private sector, we can actually calculate the present value of the project I is using this formula on the screen. So the present value criteria for project evaluation are that, number one, the project is admissible only if the present value is positive. If the present value is negative, then it shouldn't be admissible. So when the two projects are mutually exclusive, when you say exclusive, it is exclusive to a group of people. That's why it's private sector project evaluation. The preferred project is the one with the highest present value. So since this is a mutually exclusive, if between two projects, kung ano man the project ang highest and near present value, that should be the one that should be selected for the private sector project evaluation. So for example, let me give you an example to this table 11.2. So this actually shows two projects, the R&D, research and development on advertising. Okay, it's here. So there are two projects. Project one is R&D, research and development, or advertising. So let us say, okay. So this is R&D, this is the year 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is R&D, this is advertising, and this is the discount rate. On year 1, the discount rate is 0 because it's, I mean, in year 0, the discount rate is 0. On year 1, the discount rate is 1%. Year 2, 3%, year 3, 5%. On the succeeding years, discount rate is 7%. This is the annual net return. Annual net return. So on year 1, negative 1,000, both of them. On year 0, both of them, the company invested 1,000. On year 2, R&D, net return of 600. The advertising did not have a return. On year 2, both of them has no return. On year 3, there was a return from the R&D of 550. On the advertising, there was a return of 1,200. That's the annual net return. For the present value, when we look at on the present value, R&D was $150, advertising was 200. But as we move on to the succeeding years, we notice that advertising actually has a present value of negative 21. The question is, which project should we prefer between the two? Should we prefer for the R&D or should we prefer for the advertisement project for a certain private sector project? On your end. So, if we're gonna go back, when you say private sector, a project is admissible only if the present value is positive. As long as the present value is positive, admissible here. When two projects are mutually exclusive, the preferred project is the one with the highest present value. So which one should we go for? Highest present value. Which one should we go for? Should we go for advertisement or should we go for R&D? Hello?
R&D, ma'am.
One, ma'am.
R&D. Why R&D?
R&D mo.
Okay. Why R&D?
Kay positive ito niya present value.
And advertising. Positive man liwat.
Yes mo,
Here.
pero may niya usa nga negative nga value nga maghuhugot ta iya para maibanan it iya value, it iya amount of value para tiya present value.
Okay, so we are going to go for R&D and instead of advertising because kaya ano nga ni?
May dayan negative amount nga maghuhugot, pwede maghugot it iya average value kan kabugusan nga present value ta advertising.
Okay, because after year 3 onwards, since the discount factor is around 7%, it actually goes negative for the advertising. So which means we should go for R&D because as we look on the succeeding years, it still has a positive present value. So again, the rule with the private sector project evaluation is, ang iya ruling is, tawagin may niya positive present value. Nakuha ba natin? Positive and iya present value. Okay. So there are several other criteria are often used for project evaluation but can give a misleading answers. For example, the internal rate of return or the benefit cost ratio. Because there are cases in the private sector that the benefit cost ratio is more than 1 and then basically we accept the project. But this actually sometimes can be misleading. At the same time, the internal rate of return. Well, the internal rate of return for RAW, I think that is RAW. Yes, RAW or HU is defined as RAW that solves the equation. So 0 is equal to benefit minus cost plus benefit minus cost over 1 plus rho, or the internal rate of return, up to the number of years that you expect the project to last. So the IRR is the discount rate that will make the present value of the project equal to 0. So internal rate of return more than the discount rate, or the rho more than R. If the rho is more than R, then it is admissible. So the flawed analysis would choose an admissible project with a higher internal rate of return, ignoring a scale. So that's why internal rate of return can sometimes be misleading, because again, if the internal rate of return is higher than the discount rate, it would of course lead to higher internal rate of return, and then therefore, if we are going to use that in a private sector project, the one that will implement it is malulugi, because malulugi hiya in the sense of dakuan iya internal rate of return versus the discount rate. Another misleading for the private sector is the benefit cost ratio. It actually divides the discounted stream of benefits by the discounted stream of costs. In this case, benefit is the stream of benefits and C is the stream of costs. So if we are going to use that, given that the admissibility using the benefit cost ratio requires it should be more than 1, the benefit over cost should be more than 1, the ratio is virtually useless for comparing across admissible projects. However, ratio can be manipulated by counting benefits as negative cost and vice versa. So that is why in the private sector evaluation, they are very careful with the benefit cost analysis, because there are cases that even if it's a benefit, counting as benefit, limbutang mo as negative cost. Or on some cases, vice versa, it's a cost, but you put it as a benefit. So it's different for discount rates for government projects, because for government projects, government decision making involves present value calculation. So cost, benefits, and discount rates are somewhat different from private sector, because number one, less consensus on appropriate discount rate in the public sector. Because in the public sector, it assumes that the money that is raised would have been invested in a private sector project, and in reality, for a government project, funding comes from a variety of sources: investment and consumption. Funding that comes from consumption should be discounted at the after-tax discount rate. But in government project, hard in reality to determine what proportions of funding come from the consumption or investment. To make it clear, for the government project, we have a thing called market returns. And government project kasi, it accounts for concern about future generations. But on private naman, they are stick to the possible profit of the project. At the same time, government funding naman, it involves paternalism. When you say paternalism, the decision would come from a higher authority. Like for example, our budget for 2026 is 100 trillion. Who would decide as to which project should be funded? It is not the people who decides. The people can suggest, like we tell our congressman and our governor that we need this project, etc., etc. But it is the higher authority that would decide as to which project should be implemented. So that's why it involves paternalism. So at the same time, with the government projects, it usually solves market inefficiencies, such as positive externalities. So ang mga market efficiency, nakaka-inefficient yan market, solve ito yan ni government. So that's the difference between the government projects and the private projects. So in reality, government agencies are required to use the real rate return 7%, on the assumption that this measures the before tax rate of return in the private sector. Because then again, in the private sector, usually what they use is only 5%. So some use 2% real return instead, thought to measure the after-tax rate of return. So usually kasi ang ating tax is 5%. So when he private and discount rate is 5%, the government naman is 7% to top up the discount rate for the private project. So when a new tax or expenditure is introduced, its effects over 5-year or 10-year period are analyzed to see whether it would put the budget out of balance. So that is why in government projects, it actually ignores discounting, and the costs or benefits outside the window are not counted toward the deficit or the surplus. So in valuing public benefits and costs for a public private company, benefits is the revenues received and the cost is the firm's payments for inputs. But for a public sector naman, market prices may not reflect the social benefits and costs, for example, externalities. So there are several ways of measuring the benefits and the cost for a government project. So market prices, adjusted market prices, consumer surplus, inferences from economic behavior. Give me a second. Inferences from economic behavior or valuing intangibles. So that's the main difference between private project and government project. So let me just go back again. For a private company, benefits are the revenues received or the profit. The cost naman is the firm's payments for inputs. For government projects, for a government, it actually consider several ways in measuring the benefits and costs. To make it short, the private company is cost is the cost on for example having the project, and the benefits is the revenue or profit from the project. For a government project naman, it's different because it can assures different it measures different there are several ways in measuring the benefits and the costs. For example, market prices. They consider the market price, they consider the intangibles, they consider the economic behavior. The private project kasi, they do not consider those. Ang madaling to consider is piraan mo cost, piraan mo profit. That is why these two projects are very different. So, first, market prices in properly functioning competitive economy, the price of a good simultaneously reflects its marginal social cost of production and its marginal value to consumers. So it ignores market imperfections and it's easy to gather. For adjusted market prices, we actually consider the shadow price of a commodity. When you say shadow price, ano nga to meaning ng shadow price? Anyone? We actually discussed this two meetings ago, shadow price. What do you mean by shadow price again? Price? Wala yung nakanundong nga yung shadow price? Wala nagka-receive mo ng shadow price? Anyone? Yes, Mr. Binayan, go ahead please.
Unreflected la po ma'am nga value ma'am, andiri po niya tod nga price ma'am.
Based on? Yes, that's correct. Hindi rin niya tuod ng tax, correct. Based on ano ba?
Based po based po assumpted po nga kon ma'am, kumbaga.
Okay.
Based po ano po ma'am, assumption ma'am.
Okay. When you say shadow price, it is for the commodity that doesn't have a market price, where we put the estimated value of the goods or services. That's what we call a shadow price. And we estimate the value if it doesn't have a market price. So sugar price of a commodity is its true underlying marginal social cost, which can sometimes be estimated. For example, shadow price includes monopoly price or taxes and unemployment. So this could actually lead to a shadow price. So consumer surplus, as we know, when you say consumer surplus, public sector projects can be large and change market prices if there are a lot of surplus. But for a private project, it does not consider surplus because then again, whatever is their costs or their inputs in having the project, that is their cost, and whatever is the revenue or the profit from the project, then that is their benefit. So that is why um private projects do not specifically use the benefit cost ratio or the net benefits of the net benefits of a certain project. Because again, basically they care less with the discount factor or the other problems that may be encountered. Pero kung government project naman is din ko consider nila ang iba ito ng mga aspects that we could we could have benefits or costs. So influences from economic behavior, of course, there are times where it is not explicitly traded. Example, and also at the same time, having no market price. For example, the value of time, we cannot explicitly trade that. At the same time, the value of life, we cannot also trade that as well. That is why in public benefits and costs with the government projects, these are the things that we value, but for a private project, dili ko dito yung puputangan ng value. There is a value, of course, but whatever is the cost, that's the cost. Whatever is the profit, that's the profit with a private project. So the value of time, as we know, in cost benefit analysis, we need to estimate the value of time to take advantage of theory of leisure or income choice. For example, after tax wage is often used, but hours of work not always a choice and not all uses of time away from the job equivalent. So at the same time um, with the for example in commuting choices, since we are talking about the public benefits and costs, trains are more expensive but less time consuming than buses. The same is true about non-stop airline flight versus those with a layover. So that is why when it comes to if we're gonna go back, the value of time, we actually make a choice, and it actually the way we value our time depends on our choices. So if we value our time, most of people would go for riding the train instead of buses because it is more quicker, but it is more expensive. So in this case, with valuing public benefits and costs is also one of the things that is being considered by government projects. Because and then again, it's not only the cost of the project that they are going to calculate. They will also be going to calculate the benefits through a lot of ways, through many ways that the people could benefit. So estimates are the value of time, approximately half of the before tax wage. So for the value of life, we actually have this mindset that life is priceless. It is really priceless because if somebody dies, we cannot um, trade the life of the person who died. So presents obvious difficulties for cost benefit analysis. But if the benefits of a saved life are infinite, any project that leads to even a single life saved has infinitely high present value. That is why those government projects that can save lives, its present value is very high because then again, we consider the not we consider, but it is really indeed life is priceless. Ama ito na, papansinan na ninyo, if you're going to be keen about it, most of the government project is actually, for the betterment of most people. Um, comparing it with the private project, and mga private project kasi are mutual to an exclusive group of people because it's private. But for government project, it actually addresses and will be benefited by most of the public. It's the major difference as well with the private and the government project. No, economists use two methods to assign finite values to human life. For example, lost earnings and probability of death. For the lost earnings, net present value to individuals after tax earnings over time. So taking literally as no loss for age, infirm, or severely handicapped. For example, at 20, at 20, God forbid, at 28, a person died. But if we're going to look at on the trajectory of his or her life, probably he will die at 65. So if at the age of 28, let's talk about, let us say, insurance company. We are um, we are calculating that there is a higher probability that the person will die at the age of 65, but the person died at the age of 28. So it means that the person is supposed to live 37 years. So let us say, ang sweldo nitong mga tao, well, we're not talking about salary, we're not even talking about salary increase through time, 37 years. Let us say, ano yung salary is 80,000 per month. 80,000 times 12 times 37 years. So basically, the value of the person who died at 28 with 80,000 pesos a month is around 35,520,000. 35 million na lang, 35 million. So that is the, and if we're gonna connect that with the lost earnings, it is the lost earnings, or it is the value of the person who died at 28, who's supposed to live at around 65, na supposedly, ito mga 35 niya ang earning, abo ko tayo ito yung maraan. So that's loss of earnings. Loss of earnings in the terms of for the government, for example, the government invested for the person, but the person died. So that's lost earnings. So probability of death. So most projects, what projects affect probability of death usually? That's sort of research. So people are willing to accept increases in the probability of death for a finite amount of money. So if it is probable that the person will die, ang malabo ito is the person is actually willing much to, invest finite amount of money or to increase the number of days to be alive, because that's the probability of death. And that is also the reason why when we calculate the present value or the future value of a certain amount, certain project, or a certain money, we indicate the number of years, because we consider the number of years where the project would still be effective or will still be functioning over a period of time. So it's also the same with the probability of death. If, for example, your project would cost you billions of dollars, and then the probability of the project is only 5 years, you need to calculate your benefit cost, your benefit and your cost, because then maybe you are investing a lot, but only then after magduduba lang or dili na ma-function ang imo project. So that's the probability of death. We consider the probability of death of a certain project every time. So example is, for example, purchasing a more expensive, safer car with a lower probability of death versus a less expensive, less safe car. So you choose. Will you go for a more expensive car but safer, or you will go for a less expensive car but it is less safe? Another example is occupational choice. Riskier jobs have higher wages, all else are equal. So would you go for a higher risk of job, but would pay you more, or you would go for another job that is paying you less, but it is also much safer. Willingness to pay for safety devices like smoke alarms when you go for such safety devices. You pay more to be more safe. So those are the things that we need to consider. So for example, let me give you this example. Estimates suggest that the value of life between 200 million to 540 million. So can contrast this versus the cost life saved. So for example, emergency floor lights on airplane cost about 45 million per life saved. And it would cost 45 um for the airline to install emergency floor lights, it would actually entail them 45 million. Kada tao na masisave on floor lights is 45 million. And then, of course, since it is lower than the value of life, which is ranging from 200 to 540, then of course, it is better to install the emergency floor lights. Because then again, the value of your life, for person life, is around 200 million to 540 million. So if it will only cost you 45 million, then therefore, it's better for you to install. Install because it is lower man than the estimated value of life. Are you getting this example? Okay. Emergency floor lights on airplane cost about 45 million per life saved. So since this is lower than 200, because the range for a range for a life is around 200 million to 540, then it's better for the airlines to install these emergency floor lights. Because again, it's lower than the value of life. So asbestos removal costs around 5 billion per life saved. Can we remove the asbestos? Asbestos removal always costs around 5 billion per life saved. Are you going to remove the asbestos? Remove them again. Please number. Ano po ba mo? Dapat ba mo? Sige po. Mrs. Panta, how about you? Are you going to remove the asbestos?
Siguro po ma'am, yes po.
Yes, one.
Kay below man po hiyaan kuan kay estimate suggest value below man hiya nga dapat. So
Pero ba sige
i-remove.
no? Kitagawa ng growth one. Kitagawa ng growth zero.
Diri diri po ngayon nalibat po. Diri po ngayon kay kuan po in upper po hiya in kuan diri po hiya belowhan kuan value of life kuan in value pohan.
Okay, how about you, Mr. Tan? What do you think, Mr. Tan? Are you going to remove or not?
I-re-remove ko, ma'am.
Come again? Pero ko na budget.
I-re-remove ko, ma'am.
Ano?
I-re-remove.
Kaya naman. Respond ka na sa niya, di ba i-remove? Mr. Tan, i-remove. Kaya naman i-remove, Mr. Tan.
Parang 4 or 5, ma'am, na ano mo pagamitan kaya your life.
You type daw, Mr. Tan. I-type na chat box, Mr. Tan. How about you, Mr. Perasol?
Dire ma'am kay kuan mas below man niya hit average hit per life na masasave ito nga emergency per life.
Sige po. Sige, sir, nahulat ako eh.
Sige po.
Yes
All
po,
right,
ma'am.
thank you. So, if we're gonna look at on the average value of life, it's 200 million to 540, and removal of asbestos is 5 billion. So, just by looking on the numbers, it's not better for us to remove the asbestos because it's more expensive. That's the context of if we're putting value, if we're just gonna look at on the value. But then again, it depends on your, if this is a exam question, it depends on your how you are going to defend your answer, because you can also say that yes, we will remove the asbestos because again, we consider the value, we consider the principle that life is priceless. So whatever is the cost of removal of asbestos, since life is priceless, then therefore we still need to remove it. So you can actually have two answers. Depends on how you're going to defend your answer. So on the public benefits and costs, public projects, we also value intangibles like national prestige, like UNESCO World Heritage, landscapes. We can actually include those intangibles. We can also include we could also use difference between cost and benefits to make an argument on how large intangibles would have to be to make the project admissible. So there are games that we can do with the cost benefit. We can do chain reaction game, where it includes secondary benefits to make proposal appear more favorable without also including the secondary cost. We can also do labor game, wages are viewed as benefits rather than cost of the project, or double discounting game. Benefits are erroneously counted twice, or if you can remember, the multiplier effect that we have discussed last meeting. We can also have this distributional considerations. This is the Hicks-Kaldor criterion, where basis potential selection on whether there is a potential Pareto improvement. So this may impose cost on some if benefits on others are larger, or other view some groups and population as more deserving and argue this should be taken into account in project selection. We can also have uncertainty because there are projects that has uncertainty. For example, AIDS vaccine research, where there is uncertainty if it would really render a vaccine over AIDS disease or not. And if in risky projects, benefits or costs must be converted into certainty equivalent. So the amount of certain income the individual would trade for a set of uncertain outcomes generated by the project. So in the uncertainty, if you are not sure if there would really be a realization with the benefits, it requires information on distribution of results and risk aversion. So we can have this figure where this is the certainty equivalent, and this is the expected outcome. And at the same time, this U or this curve is actually the uncertainty, where we are not quite sure yet if there would be a benefit from a risky project. But then again, we will not the uncertainty will not be considered a cost or a benefit, because again, we are not sure yet if there would be a realization of the project, realization benefit of the project. Measurement problems, estimation is particularly problematic due to intangibles and because of the implicit cost. And equity issues as well, because distribution of benefits and costs may be highly skewed and could be also be manipulated. But among all others that we have discussed today, this is the two slides that we need to remember. Benefits, present value of benefits is BT over 1 plus R raised to the power of time, and present value of cost is cost over 1 plus the rate of discount to the number of times or years, number of years. NPV is equal to present value of benefits minus present value of costs, which is equal to the benefits over time minus cost through time over the 1 plus discount rate through time. And the total net present value is the sum of all present value benefits minus the present value of costs. That's the thing that we need to remember that we have discussed this morning. So also, net benefits is equal to benefits minus costs. So if benefit is more than costs, it is worth doing the program or worth doing the project. If the benefits is less than the cost, of course, it is not worth doing the program. So benefit cost ratio, if the benefits over cost is more than 1, the answer is yes. It means that we should go with the project. If the benefits over cost is less than 1, it means that on having the project, it is even more costly versus the benefit, then it means we will say no to the project. In the internal rate of return, if the internal rate of return, if the IRR is more than the rate of discount, which means the project, we will say yes to the project. If the internal rate of return is less than the rate of the discount, then means that we will not go for the project. So, another example that we can give where sure ako na magawa sa aton exam. Example is a 50 peso benefit to receive in 2 years with 3% discount. So the benefit is 50. We need to calculate the present value benefits after 3 years. So if we're going to calculate that, BT or benefits over time over 1 plus R raised to the power of time is equal to 50 over 1 plus 0.3, which means the 3% at year 2, since received in 2 years. So the answer of your 50, the present value after 3 years is only 47.13. So basically, if we're gonna look at, it's just a division and considering the discount rate. Sure ako magawa sa inyo exam. So another example that we can work on with the benefit cost analysis concept is the discount rate. So discount rate where we calculate for year 1 to year 5. And if we're going to look at on the table as well, we have different rates. Rate at 0, 3% discount rate, 7% discount rate. So sugadid at an exam, it's actually easy. It's just calculation. Madali lang ito. So a benefit of $550 that will occur after 5 years from now, using T is equal to 5 using 3% discount. So your present value benefits of 50 after 3 years is only $43.13 US. Your discount factor is actually 0.8626. And your benefit is around $43.13 dollars of your 50 US dollars after 5 years with a discount rate of 3%. Questions so far? So, if we already were able to determine the benefits and the cost, we calculate the benefits and costs using the benefit cost ratio, where benefits is over the cost, or we calculate the present value of the net benefits, where net benefits is minus the costs benefits, and we will be able to calculate if we are going to recommend the project or not. We can actually do sensitivity analysis. When we do sensitivity analysis, we just one of the ways we can do sensitivity analysis is we look at as to the discount factors. For example, instead of 3, we go for 3.5 to 4 to 4.5 to 5. And what happens to the value? That's sensitivity analysis. But we will not include that in our discussion because it actually entails a lot of things. So maybe you will learn that more when you do your grad school in the future. But basically for undergraduate let's just focus on the benefit cost ratio or benefit or the net present value of benefits and cost. And then from that, you make the recommendations. Because if you already have the benefit cost analysis of your project, you can already make a recommendation if you are going to endorse the project or not. Or if you are the one that is going to accept the project, it will now be your decision if you're going to accept the project or not based on the benefit cost analysis of the project. So questions so far? Questions, please?